Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt unsafe or tense or tight or that kind of gripping feeling in your body where you wish you had either a bodyguard or a security detail? We think of unsafe as something dramatic, like being cornered in a dark alley. And obviously, that's not safe, but the human mind registers just about everything as unsafe, especially when we're disconnected from our higher self. And most of this happens at an unconscious level. So if you can imagine, we're sort of bumping around, bopping around in the world in this constant state of feeling unsafe, which means um, it's a constant state of stress. That's a stress response. When we feel unsafe, there's a degree of fear because we're in a sort of a protective, guarded mode, and that initiates a stress response. And as we've talked about, that stress response is, if left unchecked and left to go on and on all day, every day, is quite corrosive to our system, right? And mostly, like I said, this isn't necessarily conscious. So, and especially for women, I'll never forget when I heard a workshop leader say that women, it was a relationship workshop, and I had done a series of her work. And she said that women walk around in the world feeling unsafe. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that at a conscious level. She brought that to my conscious level. And then all of a sudden I started realizing how it felt. And, I started reading blogs of women who didn't feel safe traveling alone, where it's very different for men. And there was all these comparisons about how different it is for men feeling safe in the world versus women. And I didn't put a lot of drama into it. I just started noticing it so that I could become more conscious and more aware. So I want to have a conversation today about changing this so that it doesn't have to be the way we roll, in the world. I want to give you ways to consciously bring yourself into a state of feeling safe by your conscious choice, anytime, anywhere. If you would like that, type yes, please, in the comments. And we're off and running. A warm hello to you listening today, live and on the replay. It's always really great to be with you. I love coming to this platform and sharing juicy tidbits about how to be, how to heal. I love the word or the acronym HEAL, because H to me stands for health and vitality and, just energy, right? And the E stands for expression, like the expression of who we truly, truly, truly are. Some people like to use the word authentic. The A stands for abundance, and that means the abundance and supply of all good things from our birthright, like according to our birthright. The L stands for love, like all of us in our hearts want more love, more connection. So that acronym HEAL has always been very meaningful for me for decades. So if you have any questions, put a capital Q and then I won't miss it. Put those in the comments. All of your likes and emojis are very welcome. It just kind of enlivens the space up a little bit. If we've not yet met, I'm Laurie Morse, a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine, director of the Sacred Health Academy, where we teach spirit-centered women struggling with fatigue, pain, health problems, stress, how to awaken her birthright of sacred health, which is a very true thing, right? So that she can live with energy and ease in her body and vitality and peace and purpose, because that's what we really crave. So let's unpack this unconscious state thing that we're talking about of feeling overguarded and unprotected and unsafe and in a stress response. So there's going to be three things I'm going to offer you to take on, if you will, if they feel right. I always tell people, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And hopefully these are resonant enough for you to take them on, because you can do them anytime, anywhere. I also recommend that you practice these things when you feel more safe, when you feel more centered, like, at home, when things are okay, things are calm. Because the truth is, if we don't practice it when things are good, then it's harder for us to access them when we're off center. So that's just a thing I've learned over the years, is that it's easier to build the muscle when I practice when things are good. The tendency when things are good is to just kind of go on about our business as if everything's okay because it feels okay. But that's actually the best time to practice and create attraction and build momentum with the thing that we're wanting to cultivate, right? So the first thing is, you won't be surprised because I kind of talk about this incessantly, is to connect to your higher self. When we connect, so the purpose of meditation is to make that connection. Now, some people think the purpose of meditation is to calm and settle and quiet our mind. And that's partly true, because when we calm and quiet our mind, we have an easier access to this connection. The connection to our higher self is the point of meditation. So that's the objective, or the end game, if you will. Now, quieting our mind is one of the stepping stones to getting there. And here's why this is so important, because when we're connected to our higher presence, there is a flow of light force, L-I-G-H-T, which is also the same thing as life force. It's our source of life. It's what's beating our heart, pumping our blood right now, giving us the animation to speak words, to think thoughts, to have actions, right? And so when we are connected to our higher self, there is an increased flow of light force, and it happens to come in through the top of our head, and it comes into our heart center. It overflows from our heart center and fills our entire body and field. So this is a large space around us, usually around if you put your hands straight out to your side, that your fingertips is where your field in general. Sometimes it can be more collapsed, sometimes it can be a wider field, but in general, this is our field. We want this field to be filled with our higher self. We want it to, our higher self is a presence of light. It is alive. This part of ourselves, which is part of our anatomy, by the way, is alive, and it is our better half, if you will. It's more pervasive. Well, how can I say it? There's more of a percentage of our non-physical self, this presence, higher self, than there is of our physical self. The percentages are about 96, who we are is 96% non-physical, 4% physical. And we're all focused on this 4%. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be. Being embodied, which I'll talk about in a minute, is a big deal. But being embodied means including all of our anatomy, all of who we are, our physical and our non-physical alike, right? Like that marriage between our physical and our non-physical is what all spiritual masters talk about. So I am inviting you to practice what it feels like to literally feel this connection with your higher self. It takes some practice because our mind is so clangy and busy and easily distracted and fear-filled, right? But the more you practice, the more there are these little senses, and you've probably even felt this before. But the point is, people think, oh, those are just like, sort of sparks of light of my higher self, and that's true. But we're supposed to be building those sparks of light to be stronger and more regular throughout our day, not just like once every couple of months where we have a great nanosecond where it happens, right? And then go back to our like regular life, which is where we're sort of like hunkered down, trying to figure out all the parts, collapsed in our own field in our body, and mostly operating from more fear than love, right? Like the objective is to be connected during our day, in our conscious awakened time, to be more connected, to be connected to our higher self 51% or more of the time. When we do that, we have access to a cascade of light and life force that is so healing and so organizing of good things in our life, regardless of what's happening in the world. And I know that's a hard thing to get your mind around, but the only way for you to know it is to play with it and practice it. Because I can say these words, but unless you feel it in your own system, you will not believe me, right? So practice connecting to your higher self. The second thing is place your hand on your heart. Placing your hand on your heart causes you to be aware of your body. Not only that, it's the place that our higher self connects to our body through is through our heart. And then, like I said just a minute ago, there's this kind of fountain of overflow from this light that's coming in below, where it fills every one of our cells. It causes all of our electrons, atoms, molecules, cells, organs, glands, system, and function to be operating from a higher life force, if you will. When we cut that off, it changes the game in terms of how we feel in our body. So, and being in our body, the tendency when we feel unsafe is to leave our body. We think, oh, and we've been doing this for eons, I'll just say. So there's like, it's like there's a programming in our DNA instantaneously. Oh, you feel safe, leave your body. But we have to like train ourselves, if you will, to stay in our body. It's actually more safe in our body, connected to our higher self, than it is anywhere else on the planet, bar none. And I have a story to tell you. I have actually several stories. I'll just tell you one story. But this, I have been learning over the years how true that is. And I really encourage you to, to learn it yourself in your own system. So hand on heart, you can do this anywhere, anytime. This is our sacred portal. This is our connection to our divinity. This is our connection to our safety, right? And then when you flood your system with this light, and you flood your field, and you flood everything around you, it changes molecules. And I encourage you to test that, because it is what's the word I'm looking for? It happens, right? Like, it's real. That's the thing I'm trying to have you know, is that it's a real thing. But you're only going to know that when you play and test it, right? So the first thing is connect to your higher self. Put your hand on your heart. If you want to, if you have free other hand and you're not, like in public. I mean, I do this in public anyway. I'll put my hand on my heart because I just don't think it's a weird thing. My other hand, I like to put on my belly, just below my belly button, in that second sacral chakra, which is very rooting. When we're grounded and rooted and embodied and connected, we are in the safest place we could ever be. It's like we have bodyguards, right? Because our higher presence is connected to the benevolent universe, right? Which is a fabric of love, which has all of the light, the legions of light at its disposal, that when you are in this connected place, are brought to you. And you can't see it, so you don't know, so you don't necessarily always trust it, but it's there. And in the testing, you will trust, right? So 1, connect to your higher self. 2, put your hand on your heart. Your other hand you can put on your womb space, or just, they call it the dantian, so it's for men and women alike, below your belly button. It's a very grounding place to bring your awareness toward. And then the third thing, and you can do this out loud if you're on your own, or you can do it quietly in your own mind, is to say the words, I am safe. It's important for you to know that I am, those 2 words, I am, are the most powerful words in the universe. What happens when you say I am and whatever follows? It activates your higher self and the entire universe to bring their undivided attention to the point of life that you are. So when you use the words, I am safe, it is done, because you're activating that energy in the place that you stand by your speaking those words into the field, if you will, into the quantum field. And it places your declaration in motion, right? So when you say, I am safe, in your connection, hand on heart, and it's okay if you skip the hand on heart thing, but I just recommend it, because it's a soothing, there's a soothingness to it. And again, I recommend you play with that so you can feel what it feels like for you to be connected, have your hands on your body, dropping in and saying these words, I am safe. Now, I like the words, I am safe and protected in my divinity. Now, not everybody likes the word divinity, but that's okay. You can just say the words, I am safe. Those are really easy to remember. 3 words, I am safe. The key is to feel it. The key is to give yourself the moments where you actually can be inside of the essence of those words, I am safe, the noticing of the energy that comes around you and in you, the settling of your heart, the centering of your system as it's connected to your higher self, and the potency of that feeling right? So this is called co-creation. This is what it means to co-create with our better half, with our higher self. Most of us bumble around in the world in a disconnected state, thinking we're not disconnected, and then wondering why we are in a constant state of feeling unsafe and stressed and fearful, right? And then it's so much easier when we're in that disconnected place to kind of terrorize ourselves in our own thoughts. So there was a time, this was a handful, like 20 years ago, maybe even 25. I was meeting some guy late at night, at like midnight, in a parking lot. We were both finishing up classes and lab work or something. I don't remember those details, but I was sitting in a parking lot of a grocery store. We had like arranged to meet there. This was actually before cell phones, so kind of a weird thing to think about because we're so connected to our cell phones now. But anyway, I'm sitting in this car. It's dark. I'm by myself. And there's hardly any other cars there because of how late it was. I think it was a Vons, doesn't matter. And I'm waiting for him. I was probably just a few minutes early. And I look up out of my car, and there are these three guys walking toward me. And I could feel instantly how ominous and unsafe that was. And I was like, oh, shit. And so I instantly filled myself with the light of my higher self, filled my entire body, filled my car, surrounded my car. And by the time I did all of that, they were about 10 feet away from my car. When I first noticed them, they were about 50 feet. And they just were marching toward my car. And I knew it was not good. And so once I filled everything with light and connected, and that's all I did. I didn't do anything else. Right about the 10-foot mark, they just turned and walked the other way. And I knew instantly that it was the light, the force of light that I called in that changed the trajectory of whatever it was they were planning on before I called in the light. And it may sound fantastical. It may sound, like, I don't know, a movie or something, but this has happened more than once. This is just one of many stories. And there's no doubt in my mind anymore how much I trust the energy of my connection and my drawing in and calling in and demanding more light to fill, my body and my field. I highly recommend you play with it. I mean, what do you have to lose? Only good will come of it, right? So I really, really encourage you to consider the high level of validity. I mean, this is what the spiritual masters did, right? So if you and I were centuries back in time and we were spiritual, trainees, so to speak, we would be in mystery schools learning exactly what we're talking about now. So I really want to inspire you to play with all of this, right? Just do it at home where you feel the safest so that it feels like you have easy access to it, so that if you are, God forbid, in a situation where you need to sort of engage this, it's an easy reach for you. And this is all true regardless of the circumstances in the outer world. So this is the thing to sort of get our minds around, is that no matter what chaos is happening in the outer world, this works bar none regardless. And of course it works based on our trust in it. So this is why it's important to practice it. If we're going through the motions, but we're completely knocking, our knees are knocking and we're seeing the worst case scenario, well, then we're cutting it off, right? So that's why I really encourage you to play with it. So, okay, so let's just recap real quick here. So we talked about how most of the time we're unconsciously protected, guarded, and feeling unsafe, which, triggers fear in us, which triggers that stress response. Nothing good there. And then there are these three sort of bulletproof, if you will, if you're willing to practice them, things. One is connecting to your higher self. Two is placing your hand on your heart, because that brings you into your body. Being embodied is key. You must be in your body to call in and fill your body with the light that you are from your higher presence. And, and just feeling the serenity of being in that centered place. And then the third thing is speak. Oh, I forgot to talk about the breathing. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth is also really important. So when you're saying I am safe, you want to be breathing in a harmonious rhythm. It doesn't matter. You don't have to count. You don't have to worry about any of that. Just be harmonious with your breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, because that activates your front and back channels, which means that every channel in your body has access through that front channel and that back channel. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth cultivates like an orbit of life force by way of your breath. And so when that's happening and you're saying the words, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, whether it's just quietly in your own mind or out loud, there's a little more potency when we say it out loud. I mean, if I were by myself and it didn't seem too weird, I would say it out loud, just because I don't know, it infuses the field with your words, right? Our words have essence and power to them. So those are the 3 steps, right? So just remember, I am safe, I am safe. We're connecting hand to heart. We're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and we're saying the words, I am safe. I spent 5 years walking through my days, noticing every time I felt unsafe, and then I would just simply do this thing that I'm telling you and say, I am safe and protected in my divinity. And that taught me to trust that safety is accessible at any point in time, anywhere, no matter what's happening. So I really, really invite you to, to teach yourself that, and let me know in the comments, if something popped for you, if you got a nugget out of this information, right? Because if it's just information, but it doesn't land in your cells, then, it's less powerful. And I want to know what has landed in you, if you will. And I will be back next week on Wednesday, same time, same place. And next week, we're going to talk more about how to connect with your higher presence. You can call this your higher presence, your higher self, the source of life, spirit, source, the universe. It doesn't matter how you reference this part of you, but it's vital that you begin referencing and connecting to this part of you, right? Spiritual women tend to kind of already think they are more connected than they are. I've noticed this over the years. But here's what I also am starting to really get. This has been kind of building in an awareness for a handful of years now, is that every single human being is being called to the biggest upgrade and connection in all of human history. And so you want to be sure to not miss this upgrade of your operating system. It's like upgrading your computer. You want to be in a smooth way with all of yourself, rather than in a clunky and disconnected way. Nobody likes the computer when it hasn't had its upgrades and it's not working well, right? I want you to know that a sacred health journey is yours to take, and I'm here to make sure you do not miss your heart's calling you home to your highest health and your highest connection. It's one step at a time on a path that gets you more connection, more energy, less pain, less stress and worry, and the peace and purpose that your heart is craving. So all without spending ridiculous amounts of money and time, especially because it is programmed in every one of our cells. It's your design. It's my design to be whole and healthy and well. So thank you for being you, and thank you for tending to your sacred health. It matters more than you realize, not just to your life, but the entire world. So be well and be sacred, and I look forward to seeing you next week.